The December air carried the sweet smell of pine trees and hot chocolate as families gathered along the tree-lined path near Sandringham Estate. Snow had fallen gently the night before, creating a magical white carpet that crunched softly under boots and shoes. Children's laughter mixed with the sound of church bells in the distance, creating the perfect soundtrack for Christmas morning. Princess Charlotte walked beside her parents, the Prince and Princess of Wales, her small hand tucked safely in her mother's glove. At 8 years old, Charlotte had grown into a confident young girl with sparkling eyes that seemed to notice everything around her. She wore a deep red coat that brought out the rosy color in her cheeks, and her brown hair was neatly braided with a matching red ribbon. The annual Christmas walk had become a beloved tradition for the royal family. Each year, they would make their way from Sandringham House to the local church for the Christmas morning service, greeting well-wishers who lined the path. For Charlotte, this walk had always been special, but this year felt different somehow. She felt more aware of the people around her, more curious about their stories. As the family moved slowly along the path, stopping to accept flowers and speak with visitors, Charlotte's attention was drawn to a small figure standing slightly apart from the main crowd. A young girl, perhaps a year or two younger than herself, stood quietly beside what appeared to be her grandmother. The girl had short blonde hair that caught the morning sunlight, and she wore a simple blue coat that looked warm but well-worn. What struck Charlotte most was the girl's expression. While other children were waving excitedly and calling out greetings, this little girl simply watched with wide, thoughtful eyes. There was something gentle about her presence, something that made Charlotte want to know more about her. The girl's grandmother noticed Charlotte looking their way and smiled warmly. She had kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, and her gray hair was styled neatly under a festive hat decorated with small holly leaves. She held the little girl's hand protectively, but her smile was welcoming. As the royal family drew closer, Charlotte could see that the little girl was holding something carefully in her free hand. It appeared to be a small handmade card, decorated with glitter and what looked like pressed flowers. The edges were slightly crumpled, as if it had been held tightly for a long time. Charlotte had received many gifts and cards during these public walks, but something about this particular card intrigued her. Perhaps it was the careful way the girl held it, or the obvious love and effort that had gone into making it. Whatever it was, Charlotte felt drawn to this quiet, thoughtful child. The girl's name was Mia, though Charlotte didn't know this yet. Mia had been looking forward to this day for weeks. She lived with her grandmother, Dorothy, in a small cottage just a few miles from Sandringham. Her parents had died in a car accident 2 years earlier, and, since then, Dorothy had become everything to her: mother, father, best friend, and protector, all rolled into one loving person. Dorothy had been a seamstress her whole life, working from their little cottage to make ends meet. Money was always tight, but she made sure Mia never felt like she was missing out on anything important. They baked cookies together, read stories by the fireplace, and Dorothy told Mia wonderful tales about princesses and kind queens who cared about all their people. When Dorothy learned that the royal family would be making their Christmas walk, she had suggested they go to see them. Mia had been both excited and nervous about the idea. She had seen pictures of Princess Charlotte in the newspapers Dorothy sometimes brought home, and she thought the princess looked like someone who might be kind and friendly. For weeks, Mia had worked on making a special card for Princess Charlotte. She used her best art supplies, a small set of colored pencils Dorothy had given her for her birthday, and spent hours carefully drawing and writing. The card showed 2 girls holding hands under a Christmas tree, with stars twinkling overhead. Inside, in her careful 7-year-old handwriting, she had written, "Dear Princess Charlotte, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas. Thank you for being so nice to everyone. Your friend, Mia." Dorothy had helped her press some winter flowers between heavy books to decorate the card, and together they had added just a touch of glitter to make it sparkle. Mia was proud of her creation, but as the day approached, she began to worry. What if Princess Charlotte was too busy to notice her? What if there were too many people and she couldn't get close enough? What if the princess thought her homemade card was silly compared to all the expensive gifts she probably received? Dorothy seemed to sense her granddaughter's worries. The night before the Christmas walk, as they sat by their small fireplace sharing a cup of warm milk and honey, Dorothy took Mia's hands in her own weathered ones. "My dear girl," Dorothy said gently, "the most precious gifts are the ones that come from the heart. Your card is beautiful because you made it with love. That's worth more than anything money can buy. Mia nodded, but she still felt nervous butterflies dancing in her stomach. She had never met a real princess before. What was she supposed to say? How was she supposed to act? Dorothy smiled and brushed a strand of hair from Mia's forehead. Just be yourself, sweetheart. Kind people recognize kindness, no matter where they come from or what they're wearing. Now, standing on the path with snow beginning to fall again in gentle flakes, Mia clutched her card tightly and tried to remember her grandmother's words. The royal family was getting closer, and she could see Princess Charlotte clearly now. The princess was even prettier in person than in the photographs, but, more than that, she looked approachable and genuine. Charlotte, meanwhile, had been watching Mia with growing curiosity. She had noticed how the little girl stood so quietly, how she seemed to be holding something precious, and how her grandmother's eyes sparkled with pride and love when she looked at her. There was something about this pair that stood out from the crowd, something that made Charlotte want to connect with them. As her family continued their slow progress along the path, Charlotte found herself walking slightly ahead, drawn toward where Mia and Dorothy stood. She could feel her mother's gentle hand on her shoulder, a silent reminder to stay close, but her mother seemed to understand Charlotte's interest and didn't discourage her. The moment was approaching when they would be face to face. Mia felt her heart beating faster, and she looked up at Dorothy for reassurance. Her grandmother squeezed her hand gently and nodded encouragingly. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. Charlotte could see the anticipation in the little girl's face, and something inside her own heart stirred with warmth. This wasn't just another stop on their Christmas walk, this was about to become something special, something that would stay with her long after the day was over. The snow continued to fall gently around them, creating a scene that looked like it belonged on a Christmas card itself. The sounds of the crowd seemed to fade into the background as Charlotte and Mia found themselves looking directly at each other for the first time. In that moment, two young hearts recognized something in each other, a shared kindness, a mutual curiosity, and the beginning of what would become a truly heartwarming encounter. Neither girl knew yet how this meeting would unfold, but both felt that something important was about to happen. The magic of Christmas morning, combined with the innocence and openness of childhood, was creating the perfect setting for a moment that would touch not just their own hearts, but the hearts of everyone who witnessed it. As Charlotte took another step forward, Mia took a deep breath and prepared to offer her carefully crafted card to a real princess. Dorothy watched with tears of pride beginning to form in her eyes, knowing that her beloved granddaughter was about to experience something truly wonderful. The stage was set for a meeting that would remind everyone present of the true spirit of Christmas, the spirit of connection, kindness, and the special magic that happens when one heart reaches out to another with love and genuine care. The distance between Princess Charlotte and Mia seemed to disappear in slow motion. Charlotte had been taught proper protocol for public engagements, but something about this quiet little girl made her forget all the formal rules. Instead, she simply followed her instincts, which told her that this meeting was meant to be special. As Charlotte approached, Mia felt her nervousness transform into something else entirely, a warm feeling of anticipation mixed with wonder. She had imagined this moment so many times, but reality was turning out to be even better than her dreams. Princess Charlotte didn't look distant or untouchable like royalty in fairy tales. She looked like a regular girl who just happened to wear beautiful clothes and have her picture in newspapers. When Charlotte finally stood directly in front of Mia, the first thing she noticed was the little girl's bright blue eyes, which seemed to hold a mixture of shyness and excitement. Charlotte smiled warmly, the same genuine smile that had charmed people around the world, but this time it was just for one special little girl. "Hello," Charlotte said softly, her voice carrying the gentle confidence that came naturally to her. "I'm Charlotte. What's your name?" Mia's heart skipped a beat. Princess Charlotte was talking to her. Actually talking to her, just like a normal person. For a moment, words seemed to escape her completely. Dorothy gently squeezed her granddaughter's hand, providing the encouragement Mia needed to find her voice. "I'm Mia," she managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. Then, remembering her manners, she added, "It's very nice to meet you, Your Highness." Charlotte's smile grew even brighter. She had heard that formal title thousands of times, but somehow it sounded different coming from Mia, not stuffy or distant, but sweet and respectful in the most genuine way. "It's lovely to meet you too, Mia," Charlotte replied. "Are you enjoying Christmas morning?"
Mia nodded enthusiastically, finally, finding her confidence. Yes, very much.
My grandmother and I have been looking forward to seeing you and your family. We made cookies this morning before we came, and grandmother told me stories about Christmas traditions while we decorated them. Charlotte's eyes lit up with interest.
What kind of cookies did you make? I love hearing about Christmas traditions.
Gingerbread stars and sugar cookies shaped like Christmas trees, Mia replied, her shyness beginning to fade as she realized that Princess Charlotte was genuinely interested in what she had to say.
Grandmother taught me her special recipe.
She learned it from her grandmother when she was my age. Dorothy stepped forward slightly, her heart swelling with pride at how beautifully her granddaughter was handling this extraordinary situation. Your Highness, she said with a respectful nod, it's such an honor to meet you.
Mia has been so excited about today.
Charlotte turned her attention to Dorothy, immediately struck by the kindness in the older woman's eyes. The pleasure is mine, Charlotte said politely.
You must be very proud of Mia.
She seems like a wonderful young lady. She's my whole world, Dorothy replied, her voice filled with love.
Such a bright, caring child. She's been working on something special for you, haven't you, dear? Mia's eyes widened as she remembered the card she'd been holding so tightly.
In her excitement about actually talking to Princess Charlotte, she had almost forgotten about her carefully crafted gift. Now, with both Charlotte and Dorothy looking at her encouragingly, she felt a new wave of nervousness.
I made you something, Mia said quietly, holding up the handmade card.
It's not very fancy, but I made it myself.
I hope you like it.
Charlotte's expression softened as she saw the obvious care and effort that had gone into the little card. The glitter caught the morning light, and she could see the pressed flowers that had been so lovingly arranged around the edges. But, more than the card's appearance, she was touched by the thought behind it. Mia, this is beautiful, Charlotte said, accepting the card with both hands as if it were made of precious crystal.
May I look inside?
Mia nodded eagerly, watching Charlotte's face carefully as the princess opened the card and read her message.
Charlotte took her time, reading every word of Mia's careful handwriting.
When she saw the drawing of two girls holding hands under a Christmas tree, something stirred deep in her heart. This is absolutely wonderful, Charlotte said, looking up at Mia with genuine amazement. You're very talented, and your message is so kind.
Thank you so much for thinking of me. Mia beamed with happiness. Do you really like it?
I was worried it might not be good enough.
Not good enough?
Charlotte repeated, looking genuinely surprised. Mia, this is one of the most thoughtful gifts I've ever received. You can tell it was made with love, and that makes it more special than anything else could be. As they talked, a small crowd had begun to gather around them, but both girls seemed to exist in their own little bubble. Charlotte's parents watched from a short distance away, smiling at their daughter's natural warmth and grace. They had always been proud of Charlotte's kind nature, but seeing her connect so genuinely with this little girl filled their hearts with special joy.
Would you like to walk with me for a little bit?
Charlotte asked suddenly, the invitation coming straight from her heart.
We could talk more about Christmas traditions and cookies.
Mia looked up at Dorothy with hopeful eyes, hardly daring to believe that Princess Charlotte wanted to spend more time with her. Dorothy nodded with a warm smile, though tears of happiness were beginning to form in her eyes. I would love that, Mia replied, her voice filled with excitement. As they began to walk together, Charlotte found herself genuinely curious about Mia's life. There was something about this little girl that made her want to know more, her quiet thoughtfulness, her obvious creativity, and the clear bond she shared with her grandmother all intrigued Charlotte. Tell me about your grandmother, Charlotte said as they walked side by side through the gentle snowfall. She seems very special.
Mia's face lit up immediately.
She's the best grandmother in the whole world. She takes care of me and teaches me so many things. She knows how to sew beautiful clothes, and she tells me stories every night before bed. Sometimes when I'm sad, she makes me special tea with honey, and we sit by the fireplace until I feel better.
Charlotte listened intently, touched by the obvious love in Mia's voice.
What kind of stories does she tell you?
All kinds, Mia replied enthusiastically.
Stories about brave princesses who help people, and kind queens who make sure everyone in their kingdom is happy. She tells me about magical Christmas mornings and about the importance of being kind to everyone you meet. As Mia spoke, Charlotte began to understand something deeper about this encounter. This wasn't just a casual meeting during a public engagement. Mia and her grandmother represented something pure and genuine in a world that often felt complicated and formal. Their simple, honest love for each other and their excitement about this meeting reminded Charlotte of why these public appearances mattered so much. "Your grandmother sounds like a very wise woman," Charlotte said thoughtfully.
"And it sounds like you two have a very special relationship." Mia nodded vigorously. "We do everything together.
She's teaching me how to knit so I can make warm scarves for people who need them. She says that helping others is one of the most important things we can do." Charlotte stopped walking for a moment, struck by the maturity and kindness in Mia's words. Here was a 7-year-old girl who was already thinking about helping others, who had been raised to see the importance of caring for people in need.
It was both humbling and inspiring.
"That's a wonderful lesson," Charlotte said seriously.
"Your grandmother is absolutely right. Some of the most important work we can do is helping others."
As they continued walking, other people along the path began to notice the special attention Charlotte was giving to Mia. Instead of feeling jealous or left out, the crowd seemed to be charmed by the genuine connection between the two girls. Parents pointed out the sweet interaction to their own children, and many people began taking pictures of the heartwarming scene. Dorothy walked a few steps behind, giving the girls space to talk while staying close enough to watch over Mia. Her heart felt like it might burst with pride and joy. She had raised Mia to be kind, thoughtful, and genuine, and seeing those qualities recognized and appreciated by Princess Charlotte was more than she had ever dared to hope for. The conversation between Charlotte and Mia continued to flow naturally, covering everything from favorite Christmas songs to dream destinations. Charlotte found herself laughing at Mia's innocent observations and charmed by her thoughtful questions. When Mia asked if being a princess was ever lonely, Charlotte was struck by the little girl's perceptiveness. "Sometimes it can feel a bit lonely," Charlotte admitted honestly.
"But meeting people like you makes it all worthwhile. It reminds me that there are so many wonderful people in the world, and that's what makes being a princess special." Mia considered this answer carefully.
"I think you're very good at being a princess," she said finally.
"You're kind and you really listen when people talk to you. That's what a good princess should do."
Charlotte felt a warmth spread through her chest at these simple but profound words. In all the formal training she had received about her future role, no one had ever explained it quite so simply or so well. Being kind and really listening, those were indeed the most important qualities for anyone in her position. As their walk continued, both girls began to realize that this chance meeting was becoming something neither of them would ever forget. What had started as a formal public engagement was transforming into a genuine friendship, a connection between two young hearts that transcended all differences in their circumstances. The magic of Christmas morning, combined with the pure intentions of both girls, was creating something beautiful and lasting. Neither Charlotte nor Mia knew yet how this encounter would continue to unfold, but both sensed that this was just the beginning of something truly special. As Charlotte and Mia continued their walk together, the atmosphere around them seemed to change. What had begun as a formal royal engagement was transforming into something much more personal and meaningful. The other members of the royal family had taken notice of the special connection developing between Charlotte and this remarkable little girl, and they seemed content to let the interaction continue at its own natural pace. Prince William walked over to where Dorothy stood, watching the two girls with obvious delight. "Your granddaughter is quite special," he said warmly.
"Charlotte doesn't often connect with people so quickly."
Dorothy felt tears prick at her eyes.
"Thank you, Your Highness. Mia has such a pure heart. She sees the best in everyone she meets.
This morning has been like a dream come true for her."
"And for Charlotte too, I think,"
William replied, watching as his daughter pointed out something in the distance to Mia, both girls laughing at whatever observation Charlotte had made.
"Sometimes these spontaneous moments are the most precious ones."
Meanwhile, Charlotte had stopped beside a large oak tree whose branches were heavy with snow. She pointed up at the white-laden branches, where a small robin had perched, its red breast bright against the winter landscape. "Look, Mia," Charlotte said softly. "My grandmother once told me that seeing a robin on Christmas Day brings special good luck for the whole year. Mia gazed up at the little bird with wonder.
It's beautiful. Do you think it's true about the good luck?
Charlotte smiled thoughtfully.
I think good luck comes from appreciating beautiful moments like this one. And from meeting wonderful people like you.
The simplicity and sincerity of Charlotte's words touched Mia deeply. She had expected Princess Charlotte to be nice, but she hadn't expected her to be so real, so easy to talk to. In her young mind, Mia had imagined that royalty would be different somehow, more distant and formal. Instead, Charlotte felt like the kind of friend she had always hoped to have. Princess Charlotte, Mia said, gathering her courage to ask something that had been on her mind. Do you ever get to just be a regular girl? Like, to play normal games and do regular things? Charlotte considered the question seriously. It was something she thought about often, the balance between her royal duties and her desire for normalcy. I do get to do regular things, she said. I go to school like other children, and I play with my brothers, and I help my mother in the garden sometimes. But, you're right that my life is different in some ways. Do you mind that it's different? Mia asked with the innocent directness that only children possess. Sometimes I wonder what it would be like to be completely ordinary, Charlotte admitted. But, then, I remember that being in my position means I can help people and make them happy, like we're doing right now. That makes the different parts worth it. Mia nodded solemnly, processing this answer with the seriousness of someone much older. I think helping people is the most important job anyone can have. Grandmother always says that we should leave every place a little better than we found it. Charlotte was struck by the wisdom in Mia's grandmother's teaching. That's beautiful advice. Your grandmother sounds like a very wise woman. She is, Mia agreed. She's taught me everything important that I know. Like how to be kind even when someone isn't kind to you, and how to find something good in every day, even when the day starts out sad. As they talked, Charlotte began to understand more about Mia's life. Through gentle questions and Mia's open responses, she learned about the little cottage where Mia and Dorothy lived, about their cozy evenings by the fireplace, and about some of the challenges they faced. Though Mia didn't say so directly, Charlotte sensed that life wasn't always easy for this brave little girl and her grandmother. Mia, Charlotte said carefully, would you like to see the Christmas tree at Sandringham House sometime? We could have tea and you could meet my brothers. Mia's eyes grew wide with amazement. Really? You would want me to visit you? I would love that, Charlotte said with genuine enthusiasm. We could show you the decorations, and maybe you could bring some of those cookies you and your grandmother made. I'd love to try them. The joy on Mia's face was radiant. She looked back at Dorothy, who had been listening to the conversation with growing amazement. Dorothy nodded with tears in her eyes, overwhelmed by the kindness being shown to her precious granddaughter. We would be honored, Dorothy called out, her voice thick with emotion. Mia, can you believe this wonderful invitation? As word of Charlotte's invitation spread among the royal staff and security personnel, arrangements began to be made quietly and efficiently. This wasn't just a polite gesture, Charlotte clearly meant every word, and her parents could see how important this new friendship had become to their daughter. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, approached the group with a warm smile. She had been watching the interaction with growing admiration for both girls. I understand there might be a tea party in our future, she said kindly to Mia and Dorothy. Mia curtsied as she had seen other people do, though her version was more of an enthusiastic bob than a formal curtsy. Thank you, Your Highness. This is the best Christmas ever. Catherine laughed at Mia's infectious enthusiasm. I think Charlotte would agree with you about that. She's been telling me all about your beautiful card and your grandmother's cookies. As the morning progressed, the formal Christmas walk continued, but Charlotte made sure to keep Mia close by her side. They visited with other families, accepted flowers and gifts, and chatted with well-wishers, but, through it all, Charlotte and Mia maintained their special connection. When they reached the church, Charlotte turned to Mia with a slightly sad expression. This is where we usually say goodbye to everyone, she explained. But, this isn't really goodbye for us, is it? We have our tea party to look forward to. Mia shook her head vigorously. Definitely not goodbye. Just see you soon. Before they parted, Charlotte did something that surprised everyone, including herself. She took off her red scarf, a beautiful cashmere piece that matched her coat perfectly, and gently wrapped it around Mia's neck. "I want you to have this," Charlotte said softly. "Something to remember our Christmas morning together." Mia gasped, touching the soft fabric with reverent fingers. "But, it's so beautiful." "Are you sure?" "I'm absolutely sure," Charlotte replied. "Besides, red is definitely your color." Dorothy watched this exchange with tears streaming down her cheeks. The generosity of the gesture, the spontaneous kindness of it, was almost overwhelming. But, more than the gift itself, it was what the gesture represented: genuine friendship, caring that transcended social boundaries, and the pure goodness that existed in both girls. "Thank you," Mia whispered, wrapping the scarf more snugly around her neck. "I'll treasure it always." As the royal family prepared to enter the church, Charlotte gave Mia one last hug. It was a real hug, warm and genuine, the kind shared between true friends. "See you very soon," Charlotte whispered. "See you very soon," Mia echoed, her heart so full of happiness she thought it might overflow. As Charlotte walked toward the church with her family, she turned back several times to wave at Mia, who stood with Dorothy watching until the royal family disappeared inside. Each wave was returned enthusiastically, and both girls smiled so brightly that everyone around them couldn't help but smile too. The crowd began to disperse, but many people lingered, talking about the beautiful interaction they had witnessed. Parents spoke to their children about kindness and friendship, using Charlotte and Mia's meeting as an example of how people from different backgrounds could connect through genuine caring and respect. Dorothy and Mia walked back toward their cottage in comfortable silence for a while, both processing the magical morning they had experienced. Mia kept touching Charlotte's scarf, hardly able to believe it was really hers now. "Grandmother," Mia said finally, "do you think Princess Charlotte really meant it about the tea party?" "Oh, my dear," Dorothy replied, "I think Princess Charlotte meant every word she said to you. That young lady has a heart of gold, just like you do." As they walked through the snow-covered countryside, both grandmother and granddaughter felt like they were floating on air. What had begun as a simple outing to see the royal family had turned into something extraordinary, the beginning of a friendship that would be treasured for years to come. Back at the church, Charlotte found it difficult to concentrate on the Christmas service. Her mind kept drifting to thoughts of Mia, to their conversation, and to the tea party they were planning. She had met thousands of people during public engagements, but something about Mia was different. The little girl's genuine nature, her thoughtful questions, and her obvious love for her grandmother had touched Charlotte's heart in a way she had never experienced before. As the church service concluded and the royal family prepared for their own Christmas celebrations, Charlotte made a mental note to speak with her parents about arranging Mia's visit soon. This wasn't just about fulfilling a promise. Charlotte genuinely wanted to continue getting to know this remarkable little girl who had made her Christmas morning so special. The magic of their meeting was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning to unfold in ways that would surprise and delight both girls in the days to come. 3 days after their magical Christmas morning meeting, Dorothy received a phone call that made her sit down in astonishment. A warm, professional voice on the other end identified herself as a member of the royal household staff, calling to arrange the tea party that Princess Charlotte had promised to Mia. "Her Royal Highness has been asking about Miss Mia every day," the caller explained kindly. "She would very much like to invite you both to Sandringham House tomorrow afternoon, if that would be convenient for you." Dorothy's hand trembled slightly as she held the phone. Part of her had wondered if the invitation had been just a polite gesture, something said in the moment but not really meant to be followed through. To learn that Princess Charlotte had not only remembered but had been actively thinking about Mia filled Dorothy's heart with wonder. "Yes, of course," Dorothy managed to say. "We would be absolutely delighted. What time should we arrive?" After receiving all the necessary details and instructions, Dorothy hung up the phone and called for Mia, who was in her small bedroom working on a new art project. When Dorothy shared the news, Mia's reaction was pure joy. She jumped up and down with excitement, then immediately began worrying about what to wear and what to bring. "We should take some of our Christmas cookies," Mia decided. "And maybe I could make another card?" "Oh, grandmother, what if I say something wrong? What if I forget my manners?" Dorothy gathered her excited granddaughter into her arms. "My sweet girl, you could never say anything wrong because your heart is pure and kind.
Princess Charlotte already knows what a wonderful person you are.
Just be yourself, exactly as you were on Christmas morning. That evening, Dorothy helped Mia choose her best dress, a navy blue velvet one that Dorothy had sewn herself for special occasions. They polished Mia's black shoes until they gleamed, and Dorothy braided Mia's hair with the same ribbon she had worn on Christmas Day. As a finishing touch, Mia wrapped Charlotte's red scarf carefully around her neck, treasuring this tangible connection to her new friend. The next afternoon, a car arrived to take them to Sandringham House. Mia pressed her face to the window during the short drive, watching the familiar countryside pass by. Everything looked different when you were on your way to have tea with a princess, she thought. The bare winter trees seemed more elegant, the frost on the grass looked like it had been sprinkled with diamonds, and even the gray winter sky seemed full of possibility. When they arrived at Sandringham House, Mia gazed up at the impressive building with wonder. She had seen pictures of it before, but, in person it seemed like something from a fairy tale. A kind member of staff met them at the entrance and led them through corridors lined with beautiful paintings and decorated with fresh evergreen garlands that still smelled like Christmas. Charlotte had been waiting in the drawing room, practically bouncing with excitement herself. She had changed clothes 3 times, wanting to look nice but not too formal for her new friend. When she heard footsteps approaching, she positioned herself near the door, trying to appear calm and princess-like, but the moment she saw Mia, all pretense vanished.
Mia!
Charlotte exclaimed, rushing forward to greet her friend.
I'm so happy you're here.
And, Mrs. She paused, realizing she hadn't learned Dorothy's surname. Mrs. Thompson, Dorothy supplied with a warm smile.
And, please, call me Dorothy.
We're so grateful for your invitation, Your Highness. I'm just Charlotte today, Charlotte replied with a grin.
This is a friend visit, not a royal one. Come and see our Christmas tree.
Charlotte led them to a magnificent Christmas tree that stood in the corner of the room, decorated with hundreds of twinkling lights and beautiful ornaments. But what captured Mia's attention even more was the cozy seating area Charlotte had arranged nearby, complete with soft cushions, warm blankets, and a low table set for tea. I thought we could have our tea here by the tree, Charlotte explained. It feels more cozy than the formal dining room.
Do you like it?
Mia nodded enthusiastically, still taking in all the beautiful details.
It's perfect.
Like a fairy tale, but real. Soon they were settled comfortably with delicate china teacups filled with warm tea, and plates of tiny sandwiches, scones, and pastries. Mia had brought the tin of Christmas cookies she and Dorothy had made, and Charlotte exclaimed with genuine delight when she tasted them.
These are absolutely delicious,
Charlotte said, taking a second gingerbread star. The recipe must be very special. It's been in our family for generations, Dorothy explained. My great-grandmother brought it with her when she moved to England from Scotland.
Each generation has added their own little touches to it.
As they enjoyed their tea, the conversation flowed as naturally as it had on Christmas morning. Charlotte wanted to hear all about Mia's life, what she liked to do for fun, what her favorite subjects in school were, what books she enjoyed reading. Mia, in turn, was curious about Charlotte's daily life, her brothers, and what it was like living in such a grand house.
Do you ever get lost?
Mia asked, looking around at the spacious room with its high ceilings and multiple doorways.
Charlotte laughed. I did when I was younger. There are so many rooms and corridors.
Once, when I was about 5, I got turned around and ended up in the kitchen crying because I couldn't find my way back to my room. The cook was very kind and gave me a biscuit while we waited for someone to come find me.
That must have been scary, Mia said sympathetically.
It was, but it taught me something important, Charlotte replied thoughtfully. Even in a palace, the most important thing is having people who care about you and want to help you.
That's what makes any place feel like home.
Dorothy listened to their conversation with growing admiration for both girls. Charlotte's maturity and wisdom impressed her, while Mia's natural curiosity and empathy made her proud. These two children, from such different backgrounds, were connecting on the deepest level, through shared kindness and genuine interest in each other. After tea, Charlotte gave Mia a tour of some of the house. They visited the library, where Mia's eyes grew wide at the thousands of books lining the walls. Charlotte pulled out a few of her favorites to show Mia, and they discovered they both loved many of the same stories.
Would you like to borrow some books? Charlotte offered.
I have so many, and I love sharing good stories with friends.
Mia looked at Dorothy, hardly daring to hope.
When Dorothy nodded with a smile, Mia carefully selected 3 books, promising to take excellent care of them. In Charlotte's sitting room, they played games and looked through photo albums. Charlotte showed Mia pictures from various royal events, but the photos that interested Mia most were the candid family pictures, Charlotte with her brothers, building snowmen, playing in the garden, celebrating birthdays.
You have such a nice family, Mia observed. Everyone looks so happy in these pictures. We are happy, Charlotte agreed.
Even though our life is different from other families in some ways, we still do lots of normal family things together.
What about you? Do you have other family besides your grandmother? Mia's expression grew thoughtful, and she was quiet for a moment.
Dorothy watched carefully, ready to step in if needed, but proud when Mia answered honestly and without sadness. Grandmother is all the family I have now, Mia said simply. My parents died in an accident when I was little. But grandmother gives me so much love that I never feel like I'm missing anything. She says that family isn't just about who you're born to, it's about who chooses to love you and take care of you. Charlotte reached over and took Mia's hand gently.
Your grandmother is very wise. And very lucky to have you.
I'm the lucky one, Mia replied with a smile that chased away any hint of sadness.
And now I'm even luckier because I have a friend who's a princess. As the afternoon wore on, neither girl wanted their visit to end.
They had discovered so much in common, a love of art and creativity, a fascination with stories and books, and, most importantly, a shared belief in the importance of kindness and helping others. When it came time for Charlotte's parents to join them for a brief visit, both Prince William and Princess Catherine were charmed by Mia's natural grace and thoughtful conversation. They could see clearly why Charlotte had been so drawn to this special little girl. Mia has been telling me about the scarves she and her grandmother are knitting for people in need, Charlotte announced proudly.
Isn't that wonderful?
It certainly is, William agreed. That's exactly the kind of thing we should all be doing, finding ways to help others in our community.
Catherine nodded in agreement.
Perhaps Charlotte could help with the project?
She's been learning to knit, though she might need some guidance.
I would love to help,
Charlotte exclaimed. Could you teach me your techniques, Mia?
The idea of teaching Princess Charlotte something filled Mia with excitement and pride. Plans were quickly made for Charlotte to visit Mia and Dorothy's cottage the following week, where Mia could show Charlotte her knitting supplies and they could work on scarves together. As the visit drew to a close, Charlotte presented Mia with a special gift, a beautiful art set complete with colored pencils, pastels, watercolors, and fine paper. For all the beautiful cards and pictures I hope you'll create, Charlotte explained. Mia was overwhelmed by the generosity of the gift, but even more touched by the thought behind it. Charlotte had remembered her love of art and had chosen something that would help her pursue that passion. Thank you so much, Mia whispered, hugging the art set carefully. I'll make you something beautiful with these. I know you will, Charlotte replied.
And I can't wait to see what you create.
As Dorothy and Mia prepared to leave, both girls were reluctant to say goodbye. They had discovered a true friendship, something precious and rare that both of them wanted to nurture and protect. This has been the most wonderful day, Mia told Charlotte as they hugged goodbye.
Thank you for being such a good friend.
Thank you for being such a good friend too, Charlotte replied. I can't wait for next week when I get to visit your cottage and meet your grandmother's chickens. Dorothy had mentioned the small flock of chickens they kept behind their cottage, and Charlotte had been fascinated by this detail of Mia's daily life, so different from her own experience. As their car pulled away from Sandringham House, Mia waved enthusiastically through the back window until Charlotte was just a small figure in the distance. The art set was clutched securely in her lap, and Charlotte's borrowed books were carefully arranged beside her. What a remarkable day, Dorothy said softly, her own heart full of gratitude and wonder. Grandmother, Mia said thoughtfully, I think Princess Charlotte is going to be my best friend. Not because she's a princess, but because she's the kindest person I've ever met, besides you. Dorothy smiled, thinking about how perfectly Mia had captured the essence of what made this friendship so special. It wasn't about titles or status or grand houses. It was about two young hearts recognizing kindness in each other and choosing to nurture that connection. As they returned to their small cottage, both Mia and Dorothy carried with them the warm glow of an extraordinary friendship that had blossomed in the most unexpected way. The magic of Christmas morning had indeed created something lasting and beautiful, a bond between two girls that would continue to grow and bring joy to both their lives for years to come. That evening, as Mia carefully arranged her new art supplies and planned what she would create first, she thought about all the wonderful things that had happened since Christmas morning. Meeting Princess Charlotte, receiving such kindness and friendship, and now having new adventures to look forward to, it all seemed too wonderful to be real, but it was real, and it was hers. The heartwarming moment that had begun with a simple handmade card and a shy smile had grown into something that would enrich both girls' lives immeasurably. Sometimes the most beautiful friendships begin in the most unexpected ways, and sometimes Christmas magic really does last all year long.